What is up, everybody? Keith, aka Gator Guy 231, and the EPL is back again for a Saturday 3-game slate. This is a unique slate because I think more than any other slate this season, Draftkings completely messed up pricing. We have Manchester City as above a minus 500 favorite, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I was surprised that it wasn't closer to like minus 800 or 900. Like, that's probably more of a sign of how the bookies feel City is playing. But like I've been saying on these previews for a while now, I think City are becoming overdue for a breakout. I always am worried about the defensive side of things with Pep at City. But the one thing that I feel very confident in is that Pep will get offensive tactics right. And really has just been dying for his center forwards to be back. And now he has both. He has both Sergio Aguero and Gabriel Jesus back. He doesn't have to try to play for Ferran Torres through the middle. He doesn't have to try to play Sterling there. He's tried Foden. He's tried Mahrez. He's tried false nines. He's tried all these things. And, they're just not scoring. And realistically, what was going to fix all of it? Getting Aguero and Jesus back. We're going to see both back on Saturday. I think it's going to be Aguero starting. And I think it's going to catapult City back to the City of old, meaning like months ago, pre-COVID, pre-lockdown, when they would score at will. And this is a really good matchup for them against Burnley. So that's kind of the preview of what is to come on the slate. Just a quick reminder, if you have not already, you enjoy all the soccer content that I do here at FSI, and might have some more people on here in the future doing some more soccer with me. But bottom right of the screen, hit that subscribe button. And also comment, like, do all those things. Do any sort of commenting you want. I will answer them just during lock. That 1 hour once lineups come out, I will not be looking at YouTube comments. So please, if you have any strategy questions, try to do so beforehand so I get a chance to answer it. All right, so I kind of did a lot of the City preview in that first little 1 minute opening, but let's just talk about it more. So we got City as a minus 500 favorite, and DraftKings decided to price them just like a normal team. We have, obviously, Kevin De Bruyne was sat out the midweek, getting ready, really just getting a rest, I guess, because of international and because of just all the fixture congestion. They didn't need him. I guess you could argue they did need him. they narrowly got through Olympiacos, but he should be back and starting. And honestly, like, they could have priced Kevin De Bruyne the way that they priced the slate. They could have priced him at 13,000, and you could fit him easily. So I think he's like just over 10,000. So he's gonna be the first guy in your lineups. He's gonna be like 95% owned, and very much deserves that type of ownership. So there's really no reason to fade KDB here. In optimal type constructions. I'm going to talk about a GPP game coming up coming up in a minute. But after that, all the City prices are a joke. You have Aguero, it's at 6,100. Jesus, if he started over Aguero, is the one guy that is probably fairly priced at like 8,600. But everybody else is so underpriced that even if it's Jesus, I don't see a good reason to fade him. You got Sterling just above 7K. You got Ferran Torres under 6,000 for a guy that versus Germany scored 3 goals. It's just crazy. So you can easily fit, the front three, and depending on what Pep decides to do, does he play like one striker and like a 4-2-3-1? Does he do 4-4-3-3? Does he just do some sort of Pep thing with like 4 up front and KDB just kind of picking spaces? Like, he could do a lot of things, and realistically, you're just going to pick everybody that is attacking, and that will most likely be the starting points of your lineup. I kind of wanted to go on a tangent. I joked with the FSI subscribers I was going to do this before I recorded, but it's just insane to me. Like, so here's like the things you need to watch for, right? I think that the lineup's probably going to be Aguero up top, Sterling and Torres, left wing, right wing, or left mid, right mid, depending on the formation. And then KDB behind, kind of as a 10, maybe as more of like a box-to-box type of guy. But it's just so crazy that at this point we're starting to not even think that Riyad Mahrez is considering to start. I mean, you just like watch Mahrez play. He just doesn't fit City's mold. But like, you have Riyad Mahrez, who was, I believe, EPL Player of the Year his last season at Leicester. You have Bernardo Silva, who was a top 5 Player of the Year candidate, 2 seasons ago. And now these guys can barely find the pitch. You got Phil Foden, one of the best up-and-coming talents in England. Like, okay, I can understand why maybe he's not like just a walk-in starter for City. But like, you just see these teams, it's just annoying as hell to me that you have these type of talents that are just kind of like, I don't want to say rotting away, but their career, they're missing some of the best years of their career on the bench at City. Just because they went for the money or they went for the opportunity and they didn't make it. So, like, we've seen this with Madrid, right? Like, James Rodriguez is a phenomenal example of somebody whose, like, career was starting to, like, wane. Like, he goes on loan to Bayern, doesn't really fit in there, can't get on the pitch at Madrid for any sort of consistent thing. He's starting to become, like, an afterthought, goes to an Everton, a team that, needs a talent like him that can design an attack fully around him, and now you see the eruption that we do. So, I hope for a guy like Mahrez or Bernardo Silva that maybe they get that opportunity, whether it's in January or next season. But really would love to. Those guys are just a joy to watch for a fan and for DFS. Both those guys, like we see when they're playing internationally, are really, really good targets. So just an aside against the DFS stuff, but hopefully we see that those guys take the pitch soon. But I don't see either one. I haven't seen any predictions that either one of them would start here. Bernardo's got a chance to play midweek, so I doubt you see him here. All right, so I talked about those front 4. Look, after those front 4, I really think that maybe you still consider a fullback. My co-owner, Hold the Door DFS, actually pointed out something really interesting to me that I missed completely around Ben Mendy, who finally had a phenomenal game against Olympiacos, but that he was going back while he was making his showdown lineups and was looking at all the games that Mendy was playing without KDB, and all of a sudden the crossing is there, but this moment that KDB gets on the back of the pitch, he's more having to like get more play like a midfielder. So that's something to watch, but he's super cheap. He's under 4K. If he were to start, I think more than likely you'd probably see Cancelo back on the left with Kyle Walker on the right. Cancelo, you can fit. It would just depend on, what you think of if you're going to try to force in James Rodriguez on the next game, a Leeds piece, or if you maybe you want to go with Pereira. Kyle Walker, I'm never a big fan of him, but mid fours is fine. And then I think the other guy you just really have to consider here, because how soft the pricing is could you target Ederson here? I don't think that we're terribly concerned that Burnley's going to mount a huge attack. City should have a overwhelming amount of possession. Just the thing becomes with Ederson, and I feel like I talk about this a lot, but you have to be careful sometimes with a goalie that is too much in possession, or a team that's going to have too much possession, the other team is going to have very few opportunities, because those opportunities only come on the counter. So the counter, if it's like a 2v2, those are really good scoring opportunities, and that might be one of the only shots Ederson faces. So your range of outcomes with Ederson can be as low, like I'm just giving City the win here, which obviously is dangerous, but your range of outcomes, are like, he could win the game, not get a save, allow a goal, and it's 3 DK. And maybe he gets, like, it's hard to think that he's going to get more than 2-3 saves. So your range of outcomes are like 3 to 14, 3 to 16, versus, a guy, let's say that you take Sam Johnstone from the final game, and you just don't, maybe his outcomes are down to 0, right? But you could also see him getting 6-7 saves and up to 20 DK, so he has a wider range of outcomes, and you get the salary saver. So that's the biggest thing to think about with Ederson. On the Burnley side of things, you're not targeting anybody here for optimal builds. If you do think City is leaking in the back, maybe like a Chris Wood, Jay Rodriguez, but this is not the site to target Dwight McNeil, not the site to target Ashley Westwood, Charlie Taylor, any of those guys. So move on from them. All right, second game. I kind of teased that there was a really good GPP spot. I think this is a hell of a GPP spot with Everton and Leeds. Pretty even game. We know Leeds games get very, very open. But we also know Everton games get very, very open. So you could very easily see that this game could end up being like a mini shootout. So obviously at the top of this game is James Rodriguez, who with Lucas Dean now out for a few months. James Rodriguez should have mostly a monopoly. If Gylfi Sigurdsson is in, sometimes he takes the in-swingers off the right. But I think he's a phenomenal play. I think he is actually fairly easy to fit, even with 4 City attackers. Just at that point, you maybe have to drop down from Ederson. But obviously, one of the highest floors on the slate. You could honestly argue he's actually the second highest floor on the slate after KDB. So you can easily fit. But I think, where a lot of people are going to want to go is John Joe Kenny or Nkunku, depending on how Everton line up. So last week, we saw them line up with a 3-4-3. Alex Iwobi actually played right wing back. Lucas Dean, left wing back. They could, maybe switch Alex Iwobi over to left wing back, considering he's played a lot of left wing in his career, and put John Joe Kenny on the right. I think Seamus Coleman is still dealing with an injury. But the cool thing, and John Joe Kenny's only 3,400, so he's a phenomenal, he'd be close to an easy type of core play if in. But even more so, you might get Nkunku, who we saw is a very nice attacker at 2,500 on left wing back. Most of the predictions I've seen was Iwobi on the left and Kenny on the right. But just be watching for that. Maybe if you're making a couple lines and leaving some spots open, you can put in both. Outside of Rodriguez and the wingbacks, I don't think anybody from Everton is somebody you're going to be targeting in cash. I think Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, phenomenal GPP plays. They're priced up where people are going to go, why would I pay, I don't remember their prices, but why would I pay this for Richarlison or this for Calvert-Lewin when I could take Sergio Aguero for up to 2,000 less, or Raheem Sterling, or all these any insert City forward or City attacker, and they're going to wonder why you're playing that Calvert-Lewin or Richarlison over them. So that just makes some great GPP leverage plays. So feel free to go there. On the Leeds side, so we saw Calvin Phillips back, that he's back to being on most of the sets. He's 6,400. I think on this slate he's just a pass for me. Yeah, he has a floor, but a lot of his DFS-ness is derived from the set pieces. So if you get a game that Leeds isn't getting a lot of corners, I just think he's one of those type of players that I think in a lot of slates that you take and you go, okay, he has a good floor, but before you know it, you overpaid for the floor. You sacrificed upside in other spots, and you're dead because of it. I do love a guy like Patrick Bamford. I think he's right at 8K. Again, much like the DCL and Richarlison's, he's not going to come in with a lot of ownership because of the City pieces. So, from a GPP perspective, you think this game goes off, with 4 or 5 goals, which it very well could be. Maybe you're locking in a Kevin De Bruyne from game 1, and maybe Sergio Aguero, and then stacking the rest of these pieces with a James, with a Richarlison, with a Bamford, something like that, mixing, matching those pieces. Jack Harrison, I think, is still a fine play. Even now he's losing a little bit of sets, but he still has good open play value. So I think those are the Leeds pieces I like. I also do like the fullbacks. It's always a little concerning with Luke Ayling, because you could all of a sudden show up and he's in the back 3. But if you see Alioski, he's always attacking. Stuart Dallas, I've never seen in a back 3. He'll show up sometimes in the midfield, but you're definitely not dead when that happens either. I think that covers this game well. Final game, West Brom versus, I keep blanking on Sheffield. So Sheffield, I was talking with a buddy about this. Man, I feel bad for Sheffield because they were such a good story and a fun team last year. But they feel this season's Bournemouth. They go out, they make some bad signings. I remember when it happened, I didn't think Aaron Ramsdale was all that good. Funny enough, Bournemouth's keeper, right? But they felt like it was an overpay for them, for him. And then after they lost Dean Henderson, then they just blow a lot of money on Ryan Brewster, unproven striker, when you could easily maybe go out and maybe sign maybe less of an exciting player, right? Maybe less future, but the goal when you're a Sheffield is staying up, and right now they're not looking at it. They really can't score goals. So as a football fan, I do really hope that they can figure it out, but it's looking dark. And then West Brom, honestly, they're looking a lot better than Sheffield right now. This is a game that both of these teams need 3 so badly. So I think that you're going to have a pretty competitive game. I do think from an optimal build that Pereira from West Brom is a really good play at sub 7K. It's a fantastic matchup, one of the better matchups he's going to get. And then, you get a fantastic price. He's a guy that on other EPL slates, we've seen 8, 9K and these sub 7,000 Monopoly set pieces. Slight favorite versus a bad defense or just a bad team. Sheffield had a good defense last year, but not anything to worry about now. So I think he's a really good play. The fullbacks are fine, Townsend and Furlong. I'm good with them too. But outside of that, it's really hard to like any of these other pieces for like optimal builds. You could easily, again, much like Everton and Leeds, these type of attackers are going to have absolutely no ownership. So if you want to do like a Grant, you want to do, if it's not Grant, if it's Robinson or, Grady Dianga, I can't say his name, Dianga, whatever, on the left, former West Ham guy. All these guys will come in very, very low owned. The only guy I think with any ownership here is Pereira. So I think that all those are good. On the Sheffield side of things, look, Sheffield DFS-wise has just been awful all season. John Fleck came back, was on corners. He's fine. I think Oliver Norwood, I've now played him. I think I've played him 3 times, and I've probably 3 times too many. He's just not been good. Obviously these are spots that Sheffield could easily come in here. West Brom's not very good. Sheffield rejuvenates their old 2020, 2019, earlier this year self and fixes it, but God, it's just hard to like that many people. I know McBurney just missed a goal this past weekend. You could target someone like him. I think these are all GPP spots. The only like cash/optimal pieces are probably maybe Fleck, and then probably the wing backs. So Max Lowe and Baldock. That's about it. I can't see anybody else. Again, any other pieces GPP, of course, but outside of that, I just don't see it. All right, guys, that'll about do it.